Hello, I'm Denise. Namaste. Thank you for joining me for this 30-minute hips practice. And I'm not going to be taking time to center and have a short seated meditation. So if you want to start your practice with that, please, just pause the video and give yourself some time to breathe and ground and center. I would also suggest, if you like practicing to music, to just put on your favorite yoga tunes and then we'll get started. So when I think of a hips class, I always think in terms of what do our hips need. And this particular practice was requested by someone who's a runner, and I know that runners can sometimes have the experience of having tight hips. So I'm going to begin this practice with some mobilization of the hips. So I want to just invite you to sit in Sukhasana and pick up your right leg. And then we're just going to start mobilizing. And while we mobilize, and you can see what I'm doing, I'm just shifting my hip joint side to side. You can also take it into some circular movement. You can just bend and straighten a few times. So let's just think about doing that. Think of all the ways you can move your hip and just go ahead and mobilize. So our hips are actually very, very important to the carriage of the body. So us being able to walk around and move around in our environment. Let's change legs. And so stability is actually very, very important, and stability is the most important thing to our nervous system as well. And the nervous system will basically shut down your mobility when it's experiencing instability. So what we're going to focus on in this particular hips class is making sure that we can stabilize our hips, and then we'll work on some postures that help to strengthen the hips. And if you're a runner, there's going to be some directions that you're going to want to give attention to in terms of strengthening. And then we'll work with challenging our range of control a little bit, which is meaning that we're going to have more mobility around the hips, but we want to be in control of the mobility that we have. All right, so this is my approach. So from here, we're going to just plant our feet and we'll go into some windshield wipers. So this first round of windshield wipers, I want to invite you to just let the body flow with the movement. Even let your hips rise up like this and just see what that movement feels like. It's good to mobilize the spine. But now again, the hips and the pelvis and the spine relationship, they're in this kind of threesome relationship that's very, very important that it's all in balance. So now we're going to brace the core. And by that I mean I want you to engage through pelvic floor, lower belly, hold your core still while we windshield wiper the legs. Now this is giving you an idea of your true range for external rotation, internal rotation, and we'll flip it. And these rotational actions are actually very, very important to maintain at your hip for comfortable hip function and nice smooth hip function. So let's drop both knees over to the left side, and then I want you to keep your core braced and then press down as far as you can with your left knee and press your right knee down as far as you can. If your foot has to come off the floor, that's totally okay. This is all about our hips. So press, 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 keep your core centered. And then let's release, and we'll do it to the other side now. Let your knees fall over to the right side. Let your right knee press down close to the ground. Don't let your hips get pulled over. Brace your core, and then give attention to the left knee. Press it down, brace your core, and then relax. And then we'll just take it from side to side again. So let's continue with this idea of mobilization, and we'll come into table pose. So with table pose, I do recommend that you pad your knees just so that you don't have to think even for a moment about any knee discomfort. So getting your knees under your hips and planting your palms under your shoulders, energize your hands like you're dialing them away from each other. And once again, we're going to keep some tone in the core. I want you to imagine your core is right from the pelvic floor, up the front body, up the back body, and through the dome of your diaphragm, okay? So let's give that attention. Hold that steady even while you breathe. We'll basically use Ujjayi breath with that. And then I want you to start this circling action. So of course this is good for your shoulders too. They're also ball and socket joints. So hips and shoulders are both going to benefit from this. Please keep some energy in your hands, energizing like you're dialing the hands away from each other. We don't really have to worry about that particular action at the hips right now. We'll worry about that later. So just again, working on mobilizing. Now I want to invite you to lean over to the right. So your whole body, your right shoulder, your right hip leaning to the right. Inch forward a little bit, scour into that corner. inch back a little bit. See if you can point your right hip back, 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 back. And then let's come to center. Let's explore that on the other side. Lean over to the left. Start to slide forward into that left corner, really gripping with your palms. And then we'll scour back into this left corner. Point your tail in that left corner. And then we'll come back. Very nice. And now let's just mobilize from side to side. Nice, easy movement. So the nervous system really likes this. Let's step out with the right foot, keep the knee bent. And now we'll do some hip circles. Your nervous system likes to have sensory experience around its joints. That is going to tell the nervous system exactly what's going on in the joint. Let's go in the other direction. So what we're doing here is creating some of those sensory experiences. So to begin with, our nervous system is going, okay, I know what's going on in those joints. It's probably also aware that we're lubricating them. Let's point our tail back. Now, I know it's tempting to reach back as far as you can and try to go flat like a pancake, but I want to invite you to a different experience. Push down in your right foot. Press it down. As soon as you do that, you're probably going to feel this inseam light up, and that's good. Press down into that's the sole of the foot. Keep the core braced, gather through your belly, and now see if you can point your tail back a little bit further. Hold that, press, press, press. And let's soften our contraction. Just relax the leg. Bring it back in. Let's step out with the other foot now. Sole of the foot into the mat. And instead of reaching back, trying to flatten the body, we're going to activate the foot down. So press down. Press, press, press. It's probably going to light up this inseam of the leg. And then once that happens, you can start to challenge back just a little bit. We're not going for how flat we can go. What we want to do is get a really strong activation. We're activating the lower part of our deep front line when we do this. And that is really important. It's a really important fascial line having to do with pelvic stability and the function of the hips. So that's what we're after here. And press, press, press. And we'll relieve that and bring it back in. Beautiful. Once again, just mobilize a little bit and we'll tuck the toes and just reach back for a moment. Reach forward with your fingers. Keep your toes tucked. Press down now into the toe pads. So you see, when we're doing this action, we're really opening up the soles of the feet. Of course, the feet are really important to the hip function as well. So let's really, you can see maybe I'm gripping with my toes. Press, press, press. I want to wake up my feet. Beautiful. And then I'm going to relax that and walk your hands back. Walk your hands back until you come into a squat. Now I want you to take a fairly wide squat, okay? And I know some of you will be able to get your heels down. If that's you, that's great. Some of you might have to be up here, and that's actually going to work for this as well. So up to you what happens at the feet, but I'll show you your options. We're going to do what I call the Ido Portal squat. This is what an exercise I saw him do. And what we do is drop the right knee down and come back. Drop the left knee down and come back. All right, drop the right knee and come back. Drop the left knee. You see, I've been doing this on the balls of my feet, but I could also start from the sole of my foot. So if you're able to do that, that's good. You can go ahead and do it that way. So you will probably find if you do several of these, you start to fatigue. I want to suggest that you stay up out of your very bottom. Keep the legs energized. I know you're probably feeling it by now if you've never done this before especially. And let's do one more time. It's really good for range of control. That's what this is. This is range of control. If we have passive range of motion, we would not be able to do this. We need range of control, and again, that's what our hips need. All right, let's come into the center. Good. Just take a little pause. Let's take the hands down, seat up, and walk your feet in. Come all the way up to standing now. Reach through your fingers. That feels good. Front body opens up. And we'll exhale the hands down. So now I want to suggest we take at least one block, 2 blocks if you want, and make a target for yourself at the front of the mat. And we're going to do some things that I call touchdowns. Now, the reason for doing these, again, is because it's asking me to work on my hip stability, but it's also strengthening too. So we're going to start, let's start on our left foot and go toe back with the right foot. Now, of course, for hips, foot to core connection, super important. So in order to establish that, I want to root down into my toes, energize as though I'm pulling my toes back toward my heel, and then I'm going to dial the energy of this whole leg outward. It's like I'm trying to actively externally rotate, but I'm not going to let my foot move anywhere. So what happens then is I get this activation of my lateral line and my spiral line, okay? So dial it out, and then this back foot, this whole leg is dialing in. Now we're beginning to be ready. So we have a foot to core connection. Please maintain your core connection, and then just reach down and touch your target and come back up. Okay, reaching down, touch the target and come back up. I'm going to just give you a little side view of that. Reaching down, touch the target and come back up. If you lose your balance, just put your toe down, but see if you can possibly have this hip stabilize and move through this movement all by itself. And it's actually this foot to core connection that's enabling you to do this successfully. If you get super excited and you want to challenge yourself a little bit more, you can bring more actions into this. Okay, it just sort of depends on your level of friskiness. And, you know, be easy on yourself. If you've never done anything like this before, you have to give your nervous system time to figure it out. Okay, let's just take this for our last one. And when we come down this time, take your block. You can make it a little bit higher if you like. But we're going to bring a right hand to the right hip and open and close a few times. Whoo, this is really getting into the muscles, the very deep muscles that stabilize the hip. Can you see how I'm closing? This is sort of an adduction I'm doing at my left hip. And then I'm opening, having it abduct. So again, this is a big challenge, especially to muscles that are used to running and just working in this plane. So for runners, really super beneficial for you guys. Let's do one more. Open it up, and let's hold it now. Beautiful. Let's take one more breath here, and bend the knee and bring your body up. Okay, let's set up our target once again, and we'll go and do that on the other side. Okay, so I know that was a lot, but this is going to really strengthen you. So let's establish our foot to core connection. Lift and spread the right toes. You're kind of gripping with your toes to pull them back towards your heel, and then you have your left toes just touching back. They're ready to catch you if you start to lose your balance. Okay, so let's take a nice deep breath here. And with our foot to core connection, we reach down and touch. So you can, maybe you just saw what happened here. Sometimes if I don't fully engage into my lateral lines and my spiral lines, right away my knee wants to dive in. So this establishment of the foot to core connection is very important. It helps us maintain stability, and remember how important that is to the nervous system. The nervous system is going to be much happier with you. It's going to allow more movement and allow more strength too if it feels stable first. So let's do maybe one or two more. Remember, you could bring this into a more challenging experience for yourself. Again, there's always more we can do, right? There's a place to start, and then we need to add more challenge once things start to feel easy. That might not be today, though, so don't worry about that. All right, so now let's just come into stillness. We'll put our hand on the block. Let's have the left hand on the hip, and we'll try to open and close a few times. And again, you know, if you're really new to this, it's fair to bring another block. This will steady you a little bit more. Sometimes, especially in yoga, we try to jump ahead and do postures and positions that we haven't prepared the body for. So it's really important to work with where you have stability and then start to develop yourself, develop your practice, develop your tissues, develop your joints. All right, let's just hold for one more breath here. Push the floor away from you with your standing leg and soften the knee, and we'll bring it back up. Let's shake that out a little bit. So to mobilize now, we'll stand on our feet and bring the right leg up and just pull it in nice and easy. Step down. Other leg up, nice and easy. We're not trying to get anywhere in particular. This is a mobilization. Okay, one more time. Little bounce, bounce, bounce. Good. Inhale, reach your arms up, and exhale, bring it down. Coming into another challenge for our hips. Hands on the blocks, standing on your left foot, right foot goes up. Beautiful. Now this time, we're gonna energize our foot to core connection. I want you to just even notice here as you push down into your left foot and dial it out, the more you push down, the more you're actually able to activate your core. So let's have that experience for a moment. Press, gather that energy up into your core. And this lifted leg, you want to really strongly spin it in. Press, press, press. And then if you want to challenge your balance a little bit more, you can reach your left hand forward. And then we're going to bend and straighten. So again, you might notice that this knee wants to dive in. We're going to keep pressing it out as we move up and down. Notice that even though this is the knee bending, the hip has to work pretty hard. And that's because it's working hard to stabilize. Let's take 2 more repetitions. And then your hand can come back to the block, and we'll see about spinning open again. So as we take the right hand to the hip, let's see if we can bend and straighten in this position. Interesting. Bend and straighten. And then if you like, you can hold that steady and see about pushing down so firmly into your left foot that it's easier to lift the right leg up. That's basically the law of irradiation. So the more you push down here, the more you'll be able to use that reaction force throughout your body. All right, let's take the hand down and we'll bring the foot down. Push all the way up, reach through your fingers, lean back perhaps, and exhale all the way down. Hands can come on the blocks and you'll stand on your right foot. All right, so again, we're setting ourselves up. This time I'll give you a side view. Setting ourselves up so that this standing leg dials outward. This time I can show you the arch of my foot that becomes more lifted and lively when I do this. Okay, and this lifted leg, I don't want this to happen right now. That's not where we're going. I want to spin that in. Maintaining this internal rotation control is really, really important. And then if you decide you want to go there, you can reach forward with your right hand this time. Keep pushing the floor away from you and bend and straighten. Again, remember you're pressing this knee outward as you bend and straighten so the knee doesn't dive in. This is all about having grace and control through your range of motion. Good, and then we'll hold it there, press, press, press. Then the hand can come down and we'll reorient. So when we open up this time, this leg is strongly abducted. And now your hand comes to your hips. And then if you want, and I'll probably lose my balance if I do this, but bend and straighten a few times here, okay? It's hard to look there and have this going on. Okay, then we can hold steady. And then again, foot to core, press this leg up. The more I push down here, the more I can lift this leg. Can you feel that? That is strength through your hips. Very good. Let's bring the hand down and bring the foot down. Very nice. Let's come all the way up. Reach through your fingers. We're going to take it all the way down, folding forward. Inhale, up to half lift. And exhale, fold once more. Inhale, let's come up all the way. And now we're going to step our feet apart. And tuck our heels under. So your feet are going to be quite wide apart and going into this goddess pose position. So when you're in this position, you want to kind of experiment. It really does require experimentation. And you want to practice at the place where it feels like you might fall over. Okay, that's exactly the right spot. So tuck the heels under. And now I want you to point your tail down. Pull your belly in. Okay, so obviously we're pressing into our feet. We're pressing the knees back. Press the knees back as far as you can. How about if we even bring our hands here and feel like you're pressing your legs into your hands. Press. And then we'll take the hands to the inside. And you're going to keep the knees from falling in. Don't let them fall in. Push out with your hands. Push, push, push. And one more time. Out, out, out. Press. Press a little more. And then let's take our hands here and we'll shift the body from side to side. So can you keep pressing back while you shift your weight like this? Take your time. Feel into your feet. Really ground through your feet. And again, we're challenging our stability and our strength in this position. Your hips are going to love you for this. Press into each corner. Very good. And now let's come to center and see if we can drop it down a little bit. All right, I want you to stay with me. Breathe a little bit deeper. You're really using your Ujjayi breath now. Let's drop a little bit more. Whew. Inhale, exhale. So good. Let's go one more inch down. Ooh, nice deep breath. Press down into your feet more. Feel the power in your body. Very good. And let's come up nice and slow. Point your toes forward, forward folding all the way down. Beautiful. Let's take some mobilization again. So those of you with tight hips, I highly recommend mobilizing between, postures you're taking or exercises that you're doing. All right, let's come to center. I want you to energize down into your feet and as though you're dialing your knees away from each other. So can you see how if I don't do that, my knees want to fall in? So this is what we want to have happen. I want the arches of my feet lifting. I want my knees spinning outward, and I want to feel the energy down the sides of my legs, right from here all the way up and feeding into my pelvis here. Dial it out. Press, press, press. Now, for the next couple of breaths, energize your legs, and if the floor feels like it's a long way down, grab blocks, no problem. You could be up here and do this. It's not going to affect the practice for your hips. I want you to energize like you're pulling your legs together as though they could come together all the way underneath your body. Pull it together, pull it together. Energize, energize a little more. And then release. And now push your feet apart. You're pushing into the pinky edge of your feet now. Keep your great toe mounds grounded. Press outward. Press outward. 2 more breaths here. Push, push, push. And relax. And go back into your mobilization. So depending on what feels good in your body, you could actually get quite low here because you're letting the knees bend. That might be available to you. But of course, if you're up here, this is also super nourishing, totally fine. Very good. So now let's come back to center and hold our position in the center. Hands come to the mat, and you can just step your feet together. Let's go into downward facing dog and take a little pedaling. And then stand on your left foot. Right foot comes up and back. Open your hip and just enjoy the feeling for a moment. So oftentimes when I'm in a stretch, in quotation marks, I like to noodle around. So I'm going to make some circles with my right knee in each direction. And I want to keep my pelvis stable as I do that. And then I'm going to reach and then bring my leg through. Okay, and we're coming into what I call Frisky Pigeon. So in Frisky Pigeon, we don't need to grab blocks or bolsters or anything because we're not going into, the floor. We're not going into like pancake flatness here. What we're going to do is keep our back toes tucked under and this leg super energized. So I'm spinning the leg in and down like we did when we were standing. And this leg here, full contact into the mat, full active foot here. And then what we'll do is rise up and down a couple of times. So in Frisky Pigeon, we're not passive, we're pushing down. So this is probably giving you a bit of an experience of that outer hip that many people are trying to stretch out all the time, and it's often not a good idea to stretch it, not what it needs. Okay, so what we're gonna do is strengthen it. So let's have our hands down, or if you have blocks handy, you could have hands on blocks. Doesn't matter, you could have hands on tented fingers. You could also lean forward more, so just find the place where you're able to keep pushing down. Okay, so you're gonna push down into your front leg, you're pushing down into your back toes. Let's push down into our back toes so that the back toes actually come, or the back knee actually comes away from the mat. So this is what I'm talking about. And I wanna be super strong here. Press down. If you can't quite lift, it doesn't really matter. You're just pushing down with all your might. That's all. Or at least about 80%. Let's keep pushing, pushing, pushing. Very nice. Good. Now we'll just take this back leg in and go into kind of a stag position. And I want you to just take it nice and easy. Do a couple of rotations here. And let's fall on the right side here and just press forward. If it feels like your body is willing to go there, you can stretch this leg out a bit. Keeping this hip forward. Again, this is kind of what I call noodling. And we'll bring it back in. Very good. Let's come back, tucking toes, back to downward facing dog and pedal that out. Press down into your right foot, lift your left leg up, bend the knee, roll your hip open. Enjoy. And make some circles while you're here, perhaps. And then let's go in the other direction. And we'll reach it out and step it through. Okay, back into Frisky Pigeon on the other side. Remember, our back toes are tucked under and this whole back leg is spinning in. This is internal rotation. And this leg is pressing straight down. And again, we're gonna rise out of our bottom a few times, really pressing into the legs to do that. Legs feed into the core, connected to your core, pelvic floor, lower belly. Press down, and let's bring it down. Now make sure you're still pushing into your back toes to lift your back knee. Press into your front leg, activate your whole front body. Let's take one more breath here. So nourishing. Keep pushing down just a little bit more. So good for you. And now let's release. We're going to take this leg forward and just come into a little stag position. So we'll spin around to the left and come back. Spin and come back. One more time, spin. This time we'll hold. You can bring your fingers over here, bring your right hip around. A little bit of pressure down into the legs is good. If you want, you can see what it feels like to stretch that leg out while you keep your pelvis there. And we're gonna bring it back in. Very good. Let's unwind a little bit. Beautiful. Now I want you to sit with your legs straight forward and a little bit apart. And we're going to keep the pelvis, of course, is stable. Keep your core stable and strong too. And then we're going to roll the legs out. This is external rotation at the hip. And then we'll roll them all the way in. Internal rotation. External, internal. External, internal. So we're doing this actively. I want you to stay here this time and see if you can push the pinky edge of your foot down. Press. And then let's switch it up. So press the great toe edge of your foot down if you can. Press, 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 press. And let's release, shake that out. Very good. Now you're going to roll down. Pull in through your belly and roll right down. I'm not going to lie down because I have a mic on my back, but I want you to go down into happy baby pose. This pose here on your back. And then rock your body from side to side again. Think of this as mobilizing. So just rock your body from side to side. If you want to, you can bend and straighten the legs alternatively. And then come into happy baby pose. Now with this happy baby pose, I want you to just find out by pressing down with your hands, so pressing with your hands like this, drop your knees beside your rib cage as far as they'll go. Okay, and once you're there, you're gonna just hold it there and then take your feet and push them into your fingers. So you're not going anywhere. You can tell I haven't moved. You're doing the same thing, but you're on your back. You're pushing your feet into your fingers as firmly as you can. Push, push, push. Okay, got it? Very good. And let it go. And then once again, go back into mobilizing. And this time I recommend bending and straightening a few times. Beautiful. Straighten the legs all the way up. Arms out to the sides of your body. And gather through your belly. Lower your legs down as slowly as you can. If you have to bend the knees and take them down, no problem at all. And then I want you to slide your legs out. Let your shoulders fall back, your arms reach out into Savasana posture. Let's take a nice deep breath. Take a moment and press the back of your arms and hands and heels and back of your legs and back of your hips. Everything gets pressed back into the mat. Take a big, deep inhale, press, 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 and exhale, let it all go. Let's do it one more time. Inhale, press, 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 and exhale, whoo, let it all go. This time, just take a nice soft inhale, soft exhale, and arrange yourself in Shavasana posture. Get socks, blankets, anything you want to have a restful Shavasana. And then this is where I will be leaving you for Shavasana. I recommend you either just rest in Shavasana as long as you need to or want to, or set a timer, perhaps, for 5 or 10 minutes, whatever you feel like you need today. So I hope you enjoyed that hips class. Remember, we're working on very important series here of stability, strength, and range of control. That's what your hips need. That's what's gonna make your hips happy. Thanks so much for joining me, you guys. Bye for now.